Привет из Сингапура! С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about resume and let's start with the definition.
Maxim, resume it's a kind of paper which you will apply for a job. For example, it could be CV or curriculum vitae or resume. What's the difference? Curriculum vitae it's about your life. There's a picturesque document which describes what you have done, what's your result, and what you're capable for. When we talk about resume, this is short form of curriculum vitae, and this is quite common. The curriculum vitae usually writes people who has huge success or who was commanded by a bulk of the people, crowd of the people. Resume, this is for head of departments and some other parts of the company or small branches. Resume has very strict structure, and I hope everyone knows how it built. You should have a photo, probably colorful. Then you could give your contact information, your email, your address, maybe Telegram or some other messengers. Then your sex, как сказать пол по-английски?
Gender.
Your gender, and also some other stuff which is important by your thoughts. For example, married, I have a kids, and so on. Then usually you give your experience. It is good when you write not just your responsibility, but also results and how you have achieved them. And at the bottom, you usually should write your education, but not more than 3 bullets.
And in terms of, we already covered the structure of the resume, but in terms of the fundamentals or maybe even the approaches, when the one should think of when they're building the resume, what they might be.
First, never use graphics resume or even animated. On our skill in troubleshooters school, I usually show several very wonderful resume. I like them to show, but I never will hire the people who created them. Why? Because I was working in a huge company and I have never get a letter by myself. On the цоколь, нижний этаж, ground floor, on the ground floor, there was a special team, I don't know exactly, maybe 20 or more people. They were opening all envelopes and scan all the papers, and everything what was recognized by our CRM was able for me to search. So if you have something unusual, it will go directly to the shredder. I will never see it on my screen. Second, I want to see that the person uses quite classic photo, not the amateur's one, but on the special ground. If you want to know which one, you could see in LinkedIn of people who work for McKinsey, for Pricewaterhouse, for Accenture, or some other consulting company. And last one, I want to see the text is very profound, грамотный.
Yes, that will be profound.
To be profound. So I look for dots, for commas, for all other signs. And if I will note that the person could not be consistent, use all the signs as must be, I will not invite him or she to interview.
So we consider resume as a skill, and besides of creating a document that would allow someone to get hired, what other benefits or maybe perks it brings so that it's useful to know how to build a good resume?
You know, good resume couldn't be created in one time or even one night. Everyone who try to do this will be stressed a lot. You know, there is a Russian anecdote. It's kind of meme. I just write my resume and now I am crying. I am so good and I am proud of myself. But in reality, if you will write resume less than, for example, 10 hours in 5 days, you will get totally nothing. You should think and describe very exactly what you have done. You know, there is no place for modesty. You should write, I was responsible for example, product I have created under my command team was able to achieve. and so on. You know, we talk about business. Even when you are working in infrastructure divisions, you should say how many clients, how many requests, how many money, what is your profit, what is your ERR, or some other stuff. And last one, all sentences should be just in one line. If you couldn't put your thought in one line, that you are talking too much. Who talks, that person couldn't work.
It sounds like we probably could compare a good resume as a turkey, which is stuffed with all of the different things, but still it's like a one bird. So it's pretty has a certain limits, meaning that you need to use a creativity and a good, like analytics in order to put some things there to be conscious. But in terms of the levels of mastery, in terms of the gradients, in terms of, like starting from a position of the novice to the expert, what kind of steps we need to take in order to achieve the best possible result?
First, you should make your resume readable for people and for machines. As I told before, in huge companies, in great companies, no one read it by the eyes. It would be scanned and by our SER or recognition system will be put it in some database. So you should use just usual Schrift types.
Font.
Font. And there are just 4 of them. Arial, I prefer Arial Narrow because it is easy to put more words in the same line. Second, Times New Roman, and 2 other are from Macintosh or iPad and so on. Then size of the font. Never use less than 10. 10 to 12, it's okay. Then interval между линиями.
Probably gap
Between the lines
margin
should be 1 or 1.08. Then fields 2, 2, 2, and 2 and 5. And last one, never used bold, italic, and underline. If you use bold, this means that this thought is very important, and you doubt about probability the person who read it understand. If you use italic, it is possible to use just for words which are not common in this language. For example, if there are some stress or some other stuff, for example, in Russian, you could use italic for Italian, for Italian, French, English, and some other words. And the last one, underline. Underline will запутает, will misstress.
misguide.
Will misguide recognition system, so don't use it. And be very caution with tables. The tables should be as easy as possible, because this could be a lot of unusual signs after recognition, like tabs.
And so we already covered what possible mistakes or some of the things we should do with our resume when applying. So maybe actually we'll look into it from a different direction. So sometimes for some of the companies, let's say we're the one who wants to be hired, do we need to do all of the adjustments for the resume so that it's matching the filter of the HR? Who will be taking the decision whether it will be proceeding to the hiring manager, or should we have like a one monolith and don't really change it?
Yes, when you apply to different companies, or if you are applying to different division of the company, you should review your document. You know, there is a technique which is called boomerang. I don't know, is there this word in English, boomerang?
Boomerang.
Okay, thank you. What does the mean of this technique? When you have an invitation letter or job description, you should use every word in it in your resume. Even it doesn't matter, even it doesn't suit. But you know, I will tell you the example and you will understand. For example, you're looking for air ticket or for place in hotel, and you put some check mark, галочки, check mark. Check mark, for example, in your application, on mobile phone or on website. And after this, you will get a search and you will find just 5-star hotel because you put it, because you check mark it. The same with resume. If you miss single word, you will lose probability to be called for interview. I don't remember exactly, 17% or 13%. I just don't remember.
Okay, and what are other things that you may want to put in your resume? So let's say like if there are any patents or any projects or any certain like a volunteer experience, should it be there? Why and what should be the mindset of the person who will be, putting additional information into their document?
You know, there is a trick. Your resume could not contain more than 5 parts. For example, first part is contact information, then 2 or 3 about your job experience, and 1 part of, for example, education. But if this your job first or second, you could put your volunteer experience. So if you have a place for it, resume, it's a very good filter. You should write just 5, the main important part of your life, of your work experience in this document. So for example, if you finish like 5 education, if you have been working for 20th company, never write them all. You just used 1 or 2 education, the most important for this company, for this job. And the same, you use just the most подходящий, suitable experience for company or for position. But there is one исключение. Exception. But there is one exception. You should use not just most important part of the experience, but also the most recent one. I will tell you why. Because someone could think that if there is a gap in your experience, maybe you was in a jail, maybe you was in a prison.
And in terms of the future of the resume, given that, most of the information that we do have on the internet is available, whether there will be any certain changes or still resume will be a valid thing so that, you can really provide something relevant to the person who wants to hire her. And or maybe in the future, actually the hiring managers will be looking a lot into different aspects of your work and your personality so that they can build the picture with the relevant pieces.
I was working in China on the project. It was like 5 or something like this years ago, and I found that they have an amazing application. In this application, which is distributed under the freemium license, there are 2 options: free one and premium one. In free one, you have possibility to write all the fields, and you maybe will be invited to interview if someone wants you to hire. If you have premium, you would be the first choice. You have more fields, and also you have an ability to be interviewed by the AI, by the robot, and it will give you advices what to learn more, what to write correctly, and is it your photo and your language is quite good. Amazing. So you will be interviewed by the robot and you will get your score. If your score is 92 from 100, you will be hired in 2 weeks.
So it's like a sandbox for all of the interviewers and interviewees. And my last question will be how knowing about resume could help to make this world a better place.
Maxim, this is very funny. I have never write my resume because no one asked. I was working all the time, starting from the second course of my education. But I was looking at resume in electronic and paper form and so on. I don't know how many times. Each week I was reviewing resume because I always was looking for good programmers, for good analytics, and for good specialists for project management and process excellence. And I found that usually who does nothing has a great resume, great looking resume, and just opposite. And the same with interview. Person who never created something by themselves often looks like ugly.
Need to think about this.
Получается, скромные люди по результатам выглядят наглыми, and just opposite.
А мы рассмотрели навык резюме и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!